The surveillance tracking feature in Victor Client 5.0 and above allows you to manually track a subject across multiple cameras in real time with simple mouse clicking in both live video and instant playback modes. Each configured camera will contain one or more arrows in its viewing pane, linking it to another camera or cameras, allowing you to easily track a person or an object around a location, as well as giving you the ability to view the same from multiple camera angles simultaneously. After an operator ends a tracking session, there are options to create a clip of the tracking session or to create bookmarks for the cameras in the session. Let's configure surveillance tracking, in this case on some cameras located at various points around a building. As we have a pre-configured call-up for these cameras, we'll click the call-up icon on the navigation bar and double-click the relevant call-up. We'll also open the device list from the navigation bar for easy access to the cameras that we'll soon assign to the surveillance tracking arrows in this example. Note that this is not a requirement, however, as the cameras can be assigned in various ways, as we'll see later. Click the blue arrow icon at the top right of the surveillance pane. Then click and drag the tracking arrow to the desired surveillance pane. Ensure that the top of the new arrow window is inside the pane. The zoom icons can be used to change the arrow size. Drag the rotate slider to direct the orientation of the arrow as required. The arrow should point towards the field of view of the next camera, which will pick up the subject when the camera is clicked. Clicking the cog icons give further arrow options. Drag the rotate X slider or rotate Y slider to skew the arrow along those axes. The arrow color can also be changed from here. There is also an undo icon which can revert the arrow back to its pre-changed property. Next, we can associate a camera with the arrow. One way of doing this is simply to drag the camera onto the arrow, as shown, and once dragged in it will show a preview of what the camera will show to ensure that you're selecting the right camera. This will be the camera or cameras that will display when the arrow is clicked. It's also possible to right-click on the arrow to add a camera or cameras. When the camera has been added to the arrow, click on the tick icon to confirm the camera association. This process can then be repeated as required, including to have multiple arrows for a single pane, up to a maximum of 5. Each configured camera will then contain one or more arrows linking it to another camera. Note that while a full implementation may involve more cameras, here we are using just 9 to demonstrate the basic functionality of the feature. Once a camera has been configured for surveillance tracking, the surveillance tracking icon, which looks like a small blue person, appears in the camera's surveillance pane. Selecting this icon initiates a tracking session. The surveillance tracking arrows will then show and can be used to navigate between cameras. In this case, a single pane is shown here for clarity, but the function also works in the same fashion within a single pane, or indeed multiple panes in a multi-pane view. Here we can see a subject being tracked. Clicking on the arrows brings up the cameras which have a field of view in the areas that the subject is moving to at a given time. When the tracking session has been completed, there are icons giving options to create a bookmark for each of the tracked cameras, or to save the tracking session as a clip. Tracking can also be resumed with the green return arrow, or exited without saving with the red X icon. Multiple cameras can be added to an arrow from the devices list, from another surveillance pane, or by right-clicking on the arrow. If the camera has presets, you will be prompted to select the camera preset when you add the camera. Again, clicking on the tick icon confirms the association. Virtual presets can also be assigned with the tracking arrow. Simply drag the virtual preset from the call-ups list onto the tracking arrow. In this case, we will add multiple virtual presets from the same camera onto the arrow. Now when we click on the tracking arrow with multiple associated cameras, a preview of each camera displays simultaneously. We can click to choose which one we would like to display. Similarly, you can add fisheye cameras in warped or de-warped views. We will use pane-to-pane dragging to copy this fisheye camera and change the dewarp option to panoramic for one of the panes. Now we'll add a tracking arrow to the full fisheye view and assign it to the panoramic dewarp view by dragging the dewarp view surveillance pane onto the arrow. There are some things to note regarding this feature. Surveillance tracking is available on Victor Client 5.0 and above. No special license is required for surveillance tracking, and it can be used for live video and instant playback modes. Up to 5 cameras can be associated with each arrow. That's a versatile, time-saving surveillance tracking tool on Victor Client 5.0 and above. Thanks for watching.